Has Deontay Wilder become delusional? A lot of people don't know this, but I started to get back into heavyweight boxing because of Deontay Wilder. If I knew what I knew now, I probably would have watched all the Wladimir Klitschko fights before then, but I got into Deontay Wilder in 2014. And when he became WBC champion in the start of 2015, beating Bermeen, I thought we were going to have some great fights between him and Wladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin. I thought it was going to be a really exciting time for heavyweight boxing. And I had massive respect for Deontay Wilder. The guy was still quite raw. It was a boxing ability skill. He maybe wasn't as skilled defensively wise. He could become wild, throw too many punches, and maybe put himself in danger of punching himself out, even though he always looked, especially after the Bermeen fight, he looked like he'd go 12 rounds quite easily. He did not look tired after that fight at all. So after he won that fight, I had a lot of confidence in Deontay Wilder. He was a big guy, he looked like a heavyweight champion, he had power, he had a lot of things going for him. And I was not that disappointed when he took on, what's his name? Eric Molina. I wasn't too worried when he fought Eric Molina. I thought he was going to have a nice title defence, nice easy title defence, show his home crowd that he was now champion in America. I actually thought he was more popular in America at the time. And I actually thought he was going for the fastest knockout in heavyweight championship history when he fought Eric Molina. And when they actually came out to actually fight Eric Molina, and Eric Molina was really scared of him. You know, after all the talking he'd done at the weigh-in, you could tell he was frightened of Deontay Wilder. He was looking down, he wouldn't look him in the eye. But Deontay Wilder was looking worried as well when he came out for the first round. Deontay Wilder didn't look like he was a confident champion at all, and he was in quite a lot of trouble with him in the second round. And I think it was the seventh round. I think he stopped Molina, and I can't remember now. It's been a while since I watched the fight. So I went away with that. I wasn't that impressed, but I thought, well, it's his first title defence. Maybe it was just the nerves. And then he went on and he fought a guy called Duhaupas, a French guy called Duhaupas. Wasn't too badly ranked. I think he was in the top 40. But I wasn't too happy with this fight. I wanted him to fight someone decent this time. And again, he had a bit of trouble with Duhaupas. Duhaupas got a solid chin, but he was having some trouble outboxing him sometimes as well. I think he lost a round or two to Duhaupas. And then Deontay Wilder starts talking about, well, I'm actually the real heavyweight champion right now. Wladimir Klitschko, who was champion at the time, not anymore, he's not got the WBC belt. I'm actually got the WBC belt, and most prestigious belt in heavyweight history, and I'm the official champion. Doesn't matter if Vladimir's been the second longest reigning heavyweight champion in all time. I beat Bermeen, who by the way only had the belt because Vitali Klitschko gave it up, and I'm the official champion. And I thought that was annoying. I thought that's quite a delusional thing to say because no one else views it that way at all. He was actually doing interviews with people saying exactly that he was actually the official champion, and everyone knew he was just a belt holder. He's just a belt holder for WBC. He was not ranked number one on Ring Magazine. He's not ranked number one in BoxRec or anything. He was just a belt holder for WBC. And then he goes on and he says, well, the only way I'm going to fight Wladimir Klitschko is if he comes to the USA, because I'm actually the official champion, and I'm not going to fight Wladimir Klitschko unless he comes to the USA to fight me. Well, that was just an excuse right there and then not to fight Wladimir Klitschko. Wladimir Klitschko was desperate, and this up until he fought Tyson Fury, he was desperate to fight Deontay Wilder, and he lost that opportunity because I don't think Deontay Wilder or his promotion company, whoever promotes him, didn't want to fight. Povetkin as well, not getting the fight. What did he say about Povetkin at first? He said, Povetkin, I want him tested for steroids, quite religiously before the fight. Obviously, Povetkin's never tested positive for steroids in his life. Doesn't look like a guy that takes steroids, but actually looking at him, just doesn't look like a guy that takes steroids. If anyone looks like a guy that's taking steroids, it would be Deontay Wilder. I mean, he's put on, about 25 pounds since he's turned professional. Really lean. Not saying he's taking steroids at all. But Alexander Povetkin stayed about pretty much the same weight since he's turned professional, and he's been professional a lot longer than Deontay Wilder. Just saying. Then he says, he completely contradicts that in an interview the next day. This was back in August, I think. And he says, well, no, I'm not going to fight Alexander Povetkin because it was a pointless fight. It would just be a repeat of the Bermane-Sturveen fight again. I would just take my distance, and he's far too short to beat me. So completely, basically what he said there was, I'm too good for Alexander Povetkin, even though the day before he said Alexander Povetkin is actually too good because he's taking steroids. If you get the contradiction there, saying someone who's taking steroids means they're really good, and then saying the next day, well, he's not good enough to fight you, completely contradicts what you said the day before. And now that Ortiz has beat Bryant Jennings just 2 weeks ago, I think, was it last week or the week before there? Deontay Wilder's saying, oh, well, I'm not going to fight Ortiz because he tested positive for steroids. Now, yeah, okay, Ruiz did test positive for steroids. He denies he does it on purpose, but he clearly did test positive for steroids. But it's just another excuse again. It's just an excuse again. He's been tested since then, and he's not tested positive, and he'll be tested stringently up until he fights Deontay Wilder if they actually have a fight. So it's an excuse. He's made an excuse to not fight Ortiz. And by the way, Ortiz beating Bryant Jennings. Bryant Jennings is a far better fighter than anyone Deontay Wilder's fought yet. I mean, just like I said, Bermane-Sturveen was ranked really high because Vitali Klitschko gave up his belt, and he fought someone, Chris Ariora, for the belt and won it, and that's what got him ranked high. Bryant Jennings is a far better proven fighter than Bermane-Sturveen is. So Ortiz has beat someone better than anyone Deontay Wilder's ever fought. So Deontay Wilder's made an excuse not to fight Ortiz. And by the way, I believe Ortiz would beat Deontay Wilder. Made an excuse to avoid fighting Alexander Povetkin. And I think Povetkin could have a bit of trouble with Deontay Wilder because of the height difference. I do agree with that. But Alexander Povetkin's 4-time gold medalist, WBA champion, beat far better guys than anyone Deontay Wilder's ever fought before. It was a contender for the actual real heavyweight champion, which Deontay Wilder's never had the opportunity to do before. Alexander Povetkin's got a very good chance of beating Deontay Wilder. Very good. So he's made an excuse to avoid fighting Alexander Povetkin. Made an excuse to dodge Wladimir Klitschko, who I would think would beat Deontay Wilder, even though he's going to be 40 now before he fights anyone, quite easily. And then, what does Deontay Wilder do after making all these excuses to avoid fighting all these good fighters that would actually give him a good fight? He says they're all avoiding him. Apparently, all these fighters that he's made excuses not to fight are avoiding Deontay Wilder. I'm sorry, Deontay, that you just sound completely delusional. Another thing Deontay Wilder's done, he's made excuses. He's made the excuse to avoid all these, saying he wants to be the most active heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis or before Lennox Lewis, which automatically gives him the excuse not to fight any top guys, because what he could do, since he's wasted his time for over a year now, is he could have just fought one good fighter during that time, and people would have been more happy him actually fighting someone decent than fighting 3 people that we all know he should have beat easily and actually struggled with. Eric Molina should have been knocked out in the first round. He was there to be taken. he was wide open to be taken. I was in a lot of trouble with him, in trouble with Derek Dupas. I'm not saying Deontay Wilder is a complete waste of time. He's not going to get anywhere, but it's definitely not that Deontay Wilder has been avoided. It's that Deontay Wilder or his company, whoever promotes Deontay Wilder, is clearly avoiding everyone else, and they're either Deontay Wilder's making excuses to avoid these people, or the promotion company is telling them quite stupidly to make excuses that sometimes contradict one another to not fight any of these good fighters. So what makes Deontay Wilder look completely delusional and completely clueless about what's actually going on.